thank you for volunteering to help us control the invasive plant mugwort on the Kingwood Heritage Trail. The first thing, if you haven't already watched the safety video for volunteers and also signed off on the waiver form, please do that first. There's an active link to that in the comments for this video if you've come to this through YouTube, or you can navigate to it from the address that you see right here. So please do that first. Mugwort is a perennial plant that many people are familiar with because it's a very challenging one to manage in flower beds and lawns. So when mugwort comes up, because it's perennial, it can send out runners and it comes back year after year. And so even pulling it doesn't really control it very well because it has a very strong underground presence, and just even a small little piece of that underground rhizome can start up a whole new infestation. So this plant doesn't really come from seed all that much, but it definitely comes from the roots and spreads out from a single location. So our strategy for controlling mugwort at this time is not to try to get rid of it all. Our strategy is to try to control mugwort to favor more desirable plants around it. So we are going to try to control it just by cutting it to the ground in particular areas. So all you need is a pair of pruners, and you're just going to come in and cut it off to the ground. Now what this will do is allow the more desirable plants around it to get more sun and more resources from the soil, so hopefully they'll do better and be able to compete with the mugwort. We don't expect that cutting this plant once or even twice is going to make it go away. However, by cutting it back, we do weaken it, and it's also a good idea to prevent it from flowering. So by cutting this plant back in the summer, once or two or even 3 or 4 times, we can favor the other plants around it and also keep it from flowering. The reason we might want to keep it from flowering is because mugwort is related to ragweed, and so the flowers are very inconspicuous, but they make lots and lots of pollen. This is a wind-pollinated plant, and so instead of attracting insects with pretty flowers, it puts all its energy into making lots of pollen. And so for those who are allergic to things like ragweed, mugwort is not your friend in the late summer. So cutting it will prevent it from flowering and perhaps reduce the amount of pollen in the air. Mugwort was brought to the U.S. from Europe because people wanted to use it. It's been used for lots of different medicinal purposes and to make tea, and you can look up that kind of stuff to read about if you want to. Most of those medicinal uses haven't been verified by Western medicine, and there can be some challenges with overdosing on mugwort, so I wouldn't advise that you use it without really knowing what you are doing. So to recap, for mugwort, our method of control involves clipping. Place the clippings into the bin that's provided. The clippings can have inhibitory effects on other plants, so we would like to remove them and take them away so that the other plants around the mugwort aren't inhibited from growing. Thanks for your help.